Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about a very controversial subject, and it's something that a lot of people might be a little bit triggered by. And that's, does Ethereum kind of suck now? Now, is that it for Ethereum? Is Ethereum over, dead? Well, as of lately, it's been borderline unusable for a lot of new people getting in, and really it's only primarily due to the gas fees and, user experience issues on top of that, but really it's all about the gas fees, and it's not fun, guys. It's not fun. And there's a lot of competitors coming out, so get ready for this next big wave. I mean, you're going to have your Cardanos, your Polkadots, and all this stuff, that we kind of saw in 2017 in a more premature form. And everyone's kind of going to be competing for the whole ETH killer narrative. And I just want to talk about that, along with a lot of the updates that are going on in hex.com, which is aiming to actually fix a lot of this stuff. So stick around till the end if you want to hear my thoughts on some of these revolutionary new announcements that were made in Hex that were kind of under the radar. So if you haven't been tuned into the Hex world lately, I'll try to give my brief overview of that. There's not a whole lot that we know yet, but there's some really exciting stuff coming, so stick around. But yeah, Ethereum, guys, it's really hard to use. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Back about a year ago, gas fees were, $1, maybe $2 at most, and Ethereum was also much cheaper, right? So not a lot of people were actually on the network. And again, I have to keep reminding people that one of the side effects of people actually using this blockchain is high gas fees. So the fees are actually a side effect of doing something right. So, Ethereum is clearly a blockchain where everybody wants to be, especially, the NFTs and a lot of the other stuff that's kind of bloating up the blockchain. Now, when NFTs do crash, and trust me, they will crash eventually. I mean, the writing's already on the wall for that one. Even, the Beeple guy is talking about how he thinks NFTs are in a bubble, and that guy just sold a $69 million JPEG, right? So it's ridiculous out there. It's getting really crazy, and I think, eventually one day when a lot of the bloated, when a lot of the fuss dies down and a lot of the hype dies down, people are going to generally just not be using Ethereum as much, let's say, in a bear market. But that's not really comforting, right? I mean, Ethereum should be able to have enough throughput for both a bull and a bear market. It should be able to service many, many, many more people, because even though a lot of people are using it compared to last year and compared to all time, compared to the rest of the people in the world, what if we tried to get, half the population on the ETH blockchain? It wouldn't work, guys. And the way things are set up today, it just wouldn't work. And I want to talk about L2 solutions too, because there's a lot of buzz around those as well. So I know in the month of March, Andreessen Horowitz just pumped a bunch of money into getting a lot of good developers onto Ethereum to focus on optimism and optimistic rollups. Those are basically a flavor of rollups that are a scaling solution, and without even talking about, what they mean in depth, it doesn't really matter. I want to talk about the overarching point of all this, which, as a product person, I find frustrating that in the crypto world, we don't seem to get it. And that's that the users are going to go where they're treated best, and the users are going to go where the user experience is the best. And right now, what I see happening in crypto everywhere, I mean, it's not just Ethereum. I mean, people are hyping up ADA and they don't even have anything on there yet. People are hyping up all these ETH killers and really there's no adoption there at all. It's just crypto people at this point kind of in a little bit of an echo chamber. And while we'd love to talk about price and trading, and crypto people know that, certain news events and hype makes the price go up, and that's great for trading, it's starting to have diminishing returns, in my opinion, on mass adoption of all this stuff. And we want mass adoption. I mean, Hex, my favorite cryptocurrency, Hex is all about mass adoption. It's what's going to raise the price of everything in the long term. But I think what's different about Hex and what's different about Ethereum and a lot of these things is we're playing very long-term games. Okay, so right now you're seeing some short-term sideshows coming up, right? Some potential new players. I'm not saying they're going to go away. There's probably going to be a lot of coexisting blockchains, right? Your Polkadot are going to live alongside your Binance Smart Chains, and there's going to be differing levels of decentralization and things for different people based on what they value. But in Hex, we value true decentralization and self-sovereignty and personal freedom, which is, what crypto is invented for, which is, again, to get rid of middlemen. Who knows? One day there might be a network of interoperable blockchains. It's probably the most likely scenario, honestly, where people can pick their levels of decentralization. If they don't have no need for censorship resistance, They can go use Binance Smart Chain and, do their own thing over there. I don't know what the future is going to look like. It's probably going to be crazier than you or I can imagine, but so keep watching. I'll explain about how this ties into Hex eventually. But it kind of woke me up to this idea that, I was getting a little too confident in Ethereum, perhaps, right? I still love Ethereum. I still want it to succeed, but all this money that's being poured into these roll-up solutions, these L2 solutions, I've tested out some L2 solutions, or let's just call them scaling solutions, right? I tested out QuickSwap, which is over on the Matic network, and I made a video about it, but I took it down because I don't really think it's that user-friendly. Like the overall experience in terms of adoption, me personally, I'm all about cryptocurrency adoption. My primary goal is mass adoption of cryptocurrency, and I think Hex has the power to make a lot of people truly financially free and truly wealthy. And I think what greater gift can you give than that? But to tie this back to Ethereum and layer 2 scaling solutions, the layer 2 solution that I was experimenting with, QuickSwap, there were fees to get in and out, right? And you still have to do all your transacting back on layer 1. So as a UX thing, that's really complicated to figure out. On top of that, in order to get some coins out of QuickSwap, certain coins, you'd actually have to go use like the legacy V1 Matic wallet, and it was just a whole nightmare to try to figure out. And I know people that were stuck for 13 hours trying to cross the bridge between L2 and L1. Now, if you're confused by the jargon here, just think of L2 and L1 as different playpens, right? And the L2 playpen is where everything's cheap and fast and instantaneous, like we want it to be. It's how crypto should be, but there's a bridge to get there, okay? And you have to pay a gas fee to get over the bridge, and it also takes a lot of time. So it takes about 7 to 8 minutes to get onto the L2 that I was testing out. It takes 3+ hours to get back off of the L2 onto the L1. And on top of that, you're paying these crazy high gas fees to get on and off of L1 and L2. So, the time and cost of this is just really not much better than transacting on the base layer chain and just paying, a $60 fee or waiting till, late at night where the fees are lower. So it's a UX nightmare, quite frankly, and I don't see how the current state of things is going to get a whole bunch of new people in. Again, it's great for crypto. It's great for a lot of the money in the ecosystem. There's a lot of hype right now, and different projects might pump. I'm not saying different coins aren't going to pump, right? Because there's all this different hype and all these announcements being made and progress, right? But these solutions aren't perfect, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here. I'm actually extremely optimistic because of the stuff that Hex is doing, which again, I'll get to at the end of the video. But the Matic solution, the Matic sidechain that I tried right now has some pretty heavy obstacles to overcome in the current state. And, really thinking critically about it, I'm just not a fan. I got excited because I thought it would solve a problem, but it doesn't, it introduces other problems, right? You fix one thing and you break 2 more things. So, these optimistic rollups and these ZK rollups are coming for Ethereum too, but if it's anything even similar to the whole Matic sidechain, maybe it's a little bit faster to switch over between L1 and L2, but there's still going to be gas fees associated with this. And if the gas fees are non-zero, that's still not ideal, right? And of course, there's going to be still gas fees to transfer from the L1 to L2. So I don't see that going away. And I think that's something Richard Hart might have realized as well, because the whole switchover cost, again, it's a UX nightmare, and it's expensive, and it's not fast. It's not instantaneous, right? It might be instantaneous once you're on the L2. It might be everything might be hunky-dory and great. But for now, I'm having a hard time envisioning the future where people are switching back and forth on all these things. And, maybe someday we only ever transact on L1. Maybe that's the ultimate goal, is to wrap all of these smart contracts onto L2. Then you have you need to get all the infrastructure on L2, right? All the existing applications and the Coinbases need to be able to buy and purchase directly to L2. So there's lots of work that still needs to happen, and lots of building that needs to be done, but it's all happening. And that's the crazy and fun part about all of this, is that you get to look at it all around you happening and try to speculate, which solutions are going to succeed. And these short-term solutions, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't see these short-term solutions being very viable in the long term, right? So they're definitely going to be hype events. You're going to see certain projects switching and saying, oh, we integrated Optimism and we integrated ZK rollups. And look at how fast we are now. But I don't think that from a new person looking in, they're going to be able to fully grasp this. And when they try it out for the first time, they're just going to be like, well, why don't I just go buy, whatever 50 coins are in Coinbase, because it's literally, I just need one app for that. And I don't want to mess around with this Uniswap stuff. It's way too complicated. I mean, literally, I'm working on a course right now. I'm actually very close to being done. But this course is talking all about, it spends so much time just understanding the concepts of decentralized exchanges, gas fees, and all this stuff. We focus so much on setup and security because it really is a lot of stuff that we sometimes get biased to by being, the veterans in crypto. And a lot of the new people coming in might not have any idea what we're talking about. And you might be a new person watching this video and still have no idea what I'm talking about. Basically, try to understand this. There's solutions being worked on to make fees go down. Fees are the number one issue on Ethereum, clearly, right? But at the cost of saving on fees, you introduce more different fees, and you introduce definitely UX hurdles and nightmares, quite frankly. So it's you get one thing at the expense of a couple other things. And then on top of this, there's all this hype about EIP 1559. That doesn't really help with the gas fee issue, guys. I mean, it's a hype event, but I don't think that it's helping with the gas fees. And the more I think about it, the more disconnected I feel like perhaps some of the Ethereum squad or some of these other people are becoming from the end user. At the end of the day, it's all about the end user, and they're going to go where they have a better customer experience. And hopefully the ideal customer experience can be one where people get to be self-sovereign over their money and there's no censorship, right? There's no middlemen, which is why we got into crypto in the first place. And, the no censorship was supposed to be a convenience. But right now, people a lot of times would rather be on centralized systems because they don't have a problem paying for their coffee, and they don't, they might be okay investing in some traditional stocks and bonds and things like that. So we need to make it more efficient and more appealing for people to come over to these better products. Like Hex is a better CD that's built on the blockchain. To me, it's a great store of value that's built for the long term, but if somebody can't see that right away and there's no immediately easy way, we're all doing our best to teach people, onboard people, but I got to be honest, it's hard with the gas fees, and it's hard for every project out there. Every project is going through the same thing, so it's not a Hex specific thing, or even an Ethereum specific thing, because who knows, once some of these other blockchains ever filled up, if they ever did, they might run into some of the same scaling solutions. And so, I know ETH 2.0 is another topic that we talk about. ETH 2.0 has been on the roadmap for a long time, and I haven't really seen the development team give any clear deadlines or expectations, and this stuff gets pushed back all the time. So I think by early 2022 was the goal to get ETH 2.0 built, and that would add, throughput on top of layer 2, but it would add throughput to the base chain as well. And, I'm not fully convinced that this would be enough throughput to serve a large cross-section of the entire world, right? I'm not fully convinced about that either. I mean, it's definitely going to be a big improvement with sharding and different blockchains running kind of under the hood. But, that might also be only a temporary solution, and it might take a lot longer than we think. So in the meantime, what are we going to do? Well, that's again where Hex.com is coming in, and Richard Hart is stepping up to the plate as well. If you guys haven't heard the announcement lately, it really is a quiet and kind of under the radar announcement because, again, there's no expectations in Hex. We don't make crazy promises that we can't deliver on, right? So we like to be careful. But the craziest thing about this is that it's actually not Hex at all. So what's being talked about that the primary lead Hex developer and ecosystem is going after now is to tackle the problem of gas fees totally on their own by making a new forked blockchain. So they're going to fork Ethereum and basically, copy paste Ethereum essentially onto a separate network with a couple different sets of parameters. And we don't know what those parameters are going to be, but the end goal is ultimately to make things vertically integrated. So what that means is like, in a traditional business, if you own every part of the business from like the manufacturing plants to the processing plants to the shipment and delivery services, you get so much more efficiencies out of that because everything is talking nice to each other. It's kind of like Apple, right? Apple makes both hardware and software, and they have the best phones on the planet because it just, everything plays so nice with each other. And you're not getting all these different parts from different things. And so Hex again, and I shouldn't even say Hex, Richard Hart and the Hex community are again moving in this direction where they're building the future the way that it should be designed according to getting mass adoption, getting customers, and taking the concepts of vertical integration that work clearly in the real world very well. And now we're going to apply them in the blockchain space again. So that's pretty awesome, guys. Not only are we taking like one of the, the second biggest traditional product at a bank, and we're putting it on the blockchain. It's already there. It works today. You can earn 40% APY today. It's a $7 trillion market, but now we're going to move to our own blockchain and solve all these ridiculous gas fee issues. And, if other projects want to come over to this chain, that's great. They can, but this is primarily just to get, Hexicans and people that own Hex to be able to stake and unstake their coins without paying $150. Right now, if I want to stake $1,000 for 6 months and I get to that 6-month point, I might have to pay $200 just to unstake that, right? That's 20% of my entire stake value. Now, obviously, if you stake bigger amounts, it's relatively lower, but Hex shouldn't be, just a wealthy person's game. Obviously, we want institutional money in, and that'll come, but that has to come after you build a product that the people want. And Hex has always been a cryptocurrency focused on both, right? But focused on the people as well. And so now that the common retail investors are kind of getting the short end of the stick, and we're kind of getting shafted by high gas fees, I think there's this sense of urgency that something needs to be done, right? So my thoughts about this new Hex chain, right? First of all, nobody knows what it's going to be called. We can speculate on that. I think it's kind of fun to talk about, what could we possibly name this chain? I personally don't think Hex should even be in the name. I think it should have a totally different name. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Wrong answers only. Now, the main goal of the chain obviously would be to be super fast and instantaneous with no fees, which I know is possible because I've seen it work on Matic, right? It's just the switchover is really the problem. So hopefully, this new Hex chain or Hex built chain would not only be able to service the new smart contract, but would be able to be interoperable with MetaMask. And how I'm pretty sure it's going to work is it would just be a separate RPC. So what does that mean? It means in MetaMask up here, if you press that green button, you've got all these different networks, right? And you can see I'm connected to the Matic mainnet. It's just a different network. So I think we're going to be smart about it. And Richard Hart's probably a genius, and he's not going to overlook some of these details, right? So if you want to add a custom RPC, you can do that just by filling out a couple of fields. That's just a remote client, right? That can connect to a different sidechain, essentially. And you've got all these test networks, and you've got the Matic main network, and just the click of a button using existing infrastructure like MetaMask that everybody already has, you're not locked into Ethereum. That's one of the cool things I learned about MetaMask is that you're not actually locked into Ethereum. You can use this self-sovereign non-custodial wallet and hold your own private keys and connect to a myriad of different blockchains. So that's pretty cool, right? So imagine that. And, imagine I'm personally kind of imagining a similar front end for go.hex.com where you can do all your staking, but there might just be some kind of a bridge, right? And I think a lot of people are speculating on, what might happen in the future. I think it's fun to speculate, but we shouldn't be acting like we know all the answers, right? I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about, the actual parameters. It was just announced. I mean, all this stuff was just announced last week, right? So I'm just here to give you guys an update in case you missed it, and in more of a condensed form. So maybe you don't have to watch a 4-hour Richard Hart live stream. Maybe you don't have the time for that, right? But it's going to be a new blockchain. We're not quite sure about the parameters. We're not quite sure about the consensus mechanism. How is it going to be locked down? I think it's leaning towards right now being some kind of a delegated proof of stake system. But, there's also blockchain as a service things out there like Cosmos and whatnot, where you can actually, build your own blockchain with this prepackaged code. I'm not sure if that's going to be the route we end up going. But as soon as I know information, I'll try to let everybody else know too, obviously. But right now we're kind of in the same boat. There's a lot of excitement in the air, a lot of new horizons for Hex and for crypto in general. Again, Hex is the ones that are being the trendsetters. I mean, we were the first people onto Uniswap. We literally made it popular. We were 40% of the Uniswap volume for months. Really, go look up the historical records. But now we're saying, hey, to hell with ETH. Let's go build our own thing. And again, I'm not trying to trash talk ETH now, right? I'm not just totally done with ETH. I hope ETH gets their shit together. I hope they build a bunch of scaling solutions that work really well with very, very minimal UX issues. But, I'm a little skeptical of that. And if ETH 2.0 comes out, faster than this Hex chain comes out, that's great. I'd be happy for that. But I think the general theme here is we might as well try to build a better future, because we can't just rely on everybody else to do it. And I think, as we've kind of shown, there's a lot of gatekeeping in Ethereum. Ethereum is, to some degree, a little bit of a VC boys club, where if you're not part of it, they definitely gatekeep Hex very, very hard, because, there's no funders, and they think they don't like Richard Hart's personality or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, Hex is really one of the only truly decentralized smart contracts out there, with no admin keys, immutable, and all that. So we're trying to build a future according to, crypto ideals, and also make it reasonable for both the common person and the institutional investor level to come on. So there's all this awesome stuff happening in Hex right now. If you're not, I'm more bullish on Hex than I've ever been, right? So, not only is there this side chain coming out, whatever it's going to be called, right? But then there's also things being worked on like a competitor to Grayscale, which would serve institutional investors and really get huge money in. So guys, I don't know if there's a lot of time left to really be buying Hex at these 1 penny prices. We might see an event sometime soon that's similar to what happened in May, right? Which when Hex was 0.0002, and then it went to 0.003, and we never saw those 0.002 levels again. We never saw those 3-digit zeros after the decimal levels again. And that could happen, I feel like any day now. Again, I have no idea what the price is going to do. And neither do you. I don't have a crystal ball. But with everything going on, the Hex scale, Grayscale competitor to serve institutional, and then the new blockchain to serve the people, everybody, for mass adoption, these are the things that need to be happening in crypto. So I think, Richard hit the nail on the head with identifying what needs to be done. I'm just speculating here, but I think a lot of people might be overconfident on Ethereum, and just because of the the network effect of everything doesn't mean it's a surefire win, right? This guy Alex Becker the other day had a really good point. He said, a lot of companies get overturned. A lot of companies with network effects don't end up being the winners in the long run. Look at Google. Before Google, there was Mosaic. Internet Explorer had the biggest network effect ever because it came on every Microsoft computer, standardized in. But then Google was just a better product, right? And so I'm a product person myself. I understand that people adopt things because they have better user experiences, and they adopt better products, okay? They don't adopt necessarily just the hype of the week or the trendy tech buzzword, okay? Because if it's hard to use, nobody cares, right? You got to be realistic about this stuff. And so, to me, this announcement of not only the Hex Grayscale competitor thing, but the Hex sidechain, let's just call it the Hex sidechain for now. These are just the most bullish things to me right now, because these are pinpointing the route that we need to go for mass adoption of Hex, and obviously what comes with mass adoption, guys. Number go up, right? Very simple. But yeah, again, there's a lot of unknowns, so don't look to me as some kind of expert. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So for anybody that's, getting all worked up about some things that may or may not happen, try to just take a deep breath and try to observe, what's happening. We're having conversations in these Telegram channels right now about what could happen, but, beware of anybody acting like they know exactly how any of this stuff is going to work. Again, it was announced last week, guys, so there's a lot of stuff to be figured out. I think the first developer just got on and started working this week. But it's awesome that we can kind of be excited about something new now that's not Hex. Obviously, Hex is finished. It doesn't need anything else. But what it needs is a better vertically integrated ecosystem, right? So nothing's being added into the Hex code. But now we can all rally behind, how we think the future of Hex should be built from, a technical perspective, and take out these crazy gas fees that are literally crushing everybody. So I don't know how the consensus mechanism is going to work. I have a feeling, and it'd be really cool if it was based on stakers, like existing stakers or new stakers, And it'd be cool if they would have the option to maybe run a node on the Hex sidechain and be validators. I don't even know if there's going to be a new token. My gut tells me yes, but again, you also don't need a new token for a blockchain, guys. So you don't necessarily need a token for a blockchain. I mean, look at Hyperledger. Although, I mean, tokens tend to work very well in terms of blockchain's adoptions, right? So who knows? There might be some kind of staking rewards that are not Hex, right? It could be. And another thing we don't know is how the conversion would go from Ethereum to the new chain, right? So there's two major routes that I see of going from the old chain to the new chain. You can kind of do what Tron did, or what EOS did, where they had an ERC20 token, but then they did a one-for-one burn of their token in order for users to cash in that token and use it on the new chain. So it's kind of like a one-way gate. You can go to the new chain, but you might have a hard time coming back. Or you could just copy and paste, right? And then have, equal versions of Hex living, one on Ethereum and one on the new chain. I don't know. It could go either way. I mean, that's the big decision that I'm very curious about. I wish I knew the answer to it. But again, I have no idea yet. It's just so early. But if that doesn't make you excited and bullish about Hex, guys, I don't know what will. And I just wanted to address that for everybody out there curious about gas fees. Like, I know it sucks, right? And this is my more macro look at it. I think a lot of things are going to pump in the short term. But Hex, again, is a long-term game that's trying to foundationally change crypto and make it better. So I think it's awesome that Hex is not only trying to build around the, cabal of people and, insiders and gatekeepers, not only on the Binance side, but also a little bit on the Ethereum side. I'm not saying everyone's a gatekeeper or anything like that, but, there's a lot of, antagonistic attitudes, I think, in crypto in general. And I think if we all work together, this would be so much better, right? We would have mass adoption overnight, but we can't all seem to get along, and people can't seem to sometimes understand Hex and what it is. Or maybe they see it as a threat or a competitor. I don't think Hex is a competitor to many things. It only has a few direct competitors that I know of, and I don't think those competitors are of any quality worth talking about. So, there's this weird, interesting ecosystem where, you've got your Binance, your monoliths like Coinbase and your Ethereums. And then you've got these new contenders like your Polkadots, Kusamas, all that stuff. And nobody really knows how it's going to turn out. I think by Hex going its own way and building its own completely separate blockchain is totally ideal because we can optimize for our product and we can vertically integrate. And who knows, maybe some other products want to come on because they like the parameters that the new Hex chain has. Maybe that's great. Maybe that just drives more adoption. But as we've seen, guys, with new innovation in crypto, things are always just ripe for disruption, right? The powers that be today are not the powers that are going to be here 2 years from now or even 1 year from now. So I think the future might look a lot different than we've ever intended, right? I mean, who knows? Ethereum might be kind of like the AOL, right? Or the MySpace. And Hex and Hex Smart Chain might be the quiet contender for, being the Facebook, right? So, Internet Explorer, Google, MySpace, Facebook, dial-up, broadband, right? People get accustomed to the way things are, and they extrapolate and think it's going to be the way things always will be. Not true, guys. Everything's disruptive. Everything's disrupted over and over and over again, and that's what we're seeing in this cryptocurrency space because everybody now has the power to make their own token, and now even make their own blockchains, right? It's pretty easy to copy and paste and fork Ethereum, right? According to Richard Hart. But think about it, guys. We have this Cambrian explosion of innovation, and things are going to be disrupted. So get ready for that, and that's why I'm hedging my bets with Hex, right? Because I see Hex being the real disruptor, the real coin that triggers people and gets under their skin because either they don't understand it or they think it's so different that how could that possibly work? I think when you have something like that, guys, it's worth keeping an eye on, right? If you're not into Hex yet, I think this is definitely something worth keeping an eye on because it's building a future ecosystem around itself. It's fortifying itself and getting stronger every day. It's had 100% uptime for over a year, for about 16 months now. And the community behind it is just super passionate, growing every day, always focused on onboarding, which again, I think is the most important thing in crypto. I think the most important thing you could do is onboard somebody else because then they're living in the future that we all want everyone to be living in, where we don't have to worry about middlemen, corruption, and centralized parties that could censor us. What else can we talk about? Timelines, guys. So Richard very, very optimistically guessed, a 4 to 6 month timeline. But again, we've heard that one before. And how long did the 4 months before Hex launch last, right? I remember it was 4 months or 4 weeks till launch for 3 or 4 months, right? So again, expect delays, but I think Richard and the team are very optimistic about this. So if you want to dig into it more, hop over in the Telegram channel. You could talk to us. Maybe you can get a little snippet of information that I didn't cover. But we're all kind of in the discovery phase right now. We're seeing what works. So as for timelines, I have no idea. If I had to totally ballpark it, maybe I would say 9 months. I'd say maybe this would be ready in 9 months, maybe a testnet up in 6 months. And then obviously 3 months of testing, regression, hardening, all that stuff. So, that's my totally left field guess, but it could be anything, right? It most likely is going to be about a year before any of this stuff comes to fruition. But I'll be here to keep you guys updated. Hope you like the content. Let me know if you want to see or know anything else in the comments below. And let me know what we should call this new chain, guys. I've heard, Hex chain, Pulse chain, whatever. We got a lot of inside jokes in Hex. So come up with, be creative, and who knows, guys. And don't be afraid to voice your opinions either. If you think Hex should be a certain way, go in the chat and voice your opinion and then back it up with an actual reason, right, about why you think it should be a certain way. And maybe we learned something, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. Hex wasn't built in a day. But I remember back in the early days of Hex too, there was a lot of discussions being made. And occasionally, one of the guys in the peanut gallery would actually have a good idea. And a couple of those good ideas got adopted into Hex. So don't be shy over there. But then again, just beware that when you're asking questions, I don't know all the answers. A lot of people don't know all the answers. Richard Hart doesn't even know the answers. So just beware of anybody acting like they know for sure, right? But to me, this is all exciting stuff. Again, more bullish than I've ever have been before on Hex. And what a great time to be in crypto. What a great time to be in Hex. I'll talk to you on the next one.